All right, guys, welcome. So, welcome to another episode of the Eventful Life Living Out Loud. I am your host, Janelle Boyd, and I am a mompreneur, an educator, motivator, but most recently, y'all know if you've been joining me in this space for a while, I have coined myself an instigator because in this space, I'm here to challenge you to think a little bit differently, kind of in the times that we are in right now. We all know that, this pandemic and the last year and a half have presented some challenges and some opportunities in different ways. And so that's what, the Eventful Life is all about, is really bringing you women who are entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, as I affectionately call them, who are showing up even through the challenges, failing forward, right? But doing it authentically, doing it as their full selves, y'all, because you know what? That's how we learn. That's how we understand. We come to recognize that we are not in this thing called life by ourselves. And so I'm so excited to always have the opportunity to bring these women to you. And of course, I thank you for showing up each and every week to share this time and space with me, because I know y'all don't have to, okay? Outside is opening up. And so I know y'all got a million things y'all could be doing, but you choose to come and share this time and space with me and continue to give me feedback. So, which is so very important. So listen, do me a favor. Share this with someone. If you know there is a woman who you have a relationship with, a woman who is a girlfriend or just another colleague of yours, and they need to hear this, share this out. You guys know what I say, sharing is caring. And so the more who can tap into this and feed themselves with this information, the better. Okay. So with that being said, I am so excited to bring you another woman entrepreneur. Y'all, I love this woman. She is just so much fun. Okay. So if somebody told you that women in business aren't fun, they lying, because she is so much fun. she is sassy yet classy, and I love the energy that she always brings. So I'm excited to have Diana Dibble, who is a woman entrepreneur. She's the co-founder of, let me not mess this up, okay, Design to Delivery, which is D2D Inc. And she's the president and chief motivator, y'all. Okay, because we know we need all the motivation right about now. So Diana, welcome.
Thank you. It's so great to be back with you.
Yes.
Really, truly. Thank you so much for this.
Yes, and I'll set the context. So Diana and I met, what was it, 2 years ago?
January. Well, we first started in like October 2019 for your event.
That's
in
right.
January
That's right.
2020.
That's right. Getting ready for the planner suite. So for those of you who have been in my orbit for a while, you know that we used to host this annual conference called the Planner Suite. And Diana was one of our expert speakers who came to talk a little bit about, just doing business, how you move through business. And of course she dropped some nuggets, just like she's going to do today. So, but I feel like we've been knowing each other far beyond that. Like,
it was another life. We just caught up in this life. We've known each other probably 2 or 3 other lives. I'm sure of it. Right. I'm sure. Causing trouble. I'm pretty sure of that too.
Good trouble.
Good trouble.
Let's dive in, Diana, because one thing I know is that this time goes fast, and before we know it, it'll be time for us to wrap up. My friends out there know that as well, know that to be true. So I want to start just by talking about entrepreneurship itself, because, for those of you who have been in the entrepreneurship world for a while, what we know to be true is that entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. You have to be true to this, right? I mean, you may be new at first, but you have to be true to it, because there are going to be ups and downs that take place, challenges that you have to get over. And I know you know this because you've been an entrepreneur for 27 years. Did y'all hear me? Y'all better give this woman her flowers.
Wait, how you doing?
Butterflies, right? for sure. So it requires a lot of grit, a lot of grace, and perseverance. So let's start there with your journey. How did you step into entrepreneurship? And, how have you kind of found yourself being able to persevere through some of these ups and downs?
So I have a very unusual story because I am what I call a reluctant entrepreneur. I did not grow up wanting to be a business owner. I actually grew up wanting to be a wife and mother and, homemaker and all this other stuff, in addition to wanting to be as a ballerina. I wanted to be an oceanographer. I wanted to be an archaeologist. So, nothing in my world said business owner.
Yeah.
Just not even a little bit. I mean, my dad's a physician. My grandfather was a physician. I was supposed to be a physician, went another track. But after college, I was a music theater major. And after college, I decided I don't want to live in my car. I didn't want to travel. And I went into retail, and the business I was working for got sold. So I decided to go to Howard University and get my MBA.
All right.
And while I was there, I started Howard, shout out. Okay. Let's just shout it out. But while I was there, I started working for a uniform contractor, and, subsequently went to work for Pepsi. I worked for Magic Johnson and Earl Grey. So I got, to work with some really, really amazing business people, but still not interested in being a business owner. And I was working for a government contractor back in the early 90s. And the CFO, who I indirectly worked for, said, I have a project for you. It's going to be as a 1099 because this will be your basis for starting your own business. And I was like, no, I am not interested in having a business. I don't want to be responsible for employees. I don't want to, that's a big responsibility. Just no. But I took the project. Little did I know that 2 years later, I was going to get laid off from my job.
Wow.
And because I had this little kind of peek into being an entrepreneur, I made some phone calls. I got laid off on a Friday. I made some phone calls. And on Monday, I had my first client. I didn't even file for unemployment.
Wow.
So that's how I started my first business.
So you like literally, when they say like grace under fire, like you literally just was like, boom. Okay, here we go.
I mean, really true. And the funny thing is the person I called, I said, I need a job. And he's like, I can't afford to hire you, but I can hire you as a consultant. And I was like, fine, whatever. I have a mortgage to pay. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And from there, I built that business and was doing stuff. And, it's 24 hours a day, 9 days a week.
Yeah.
Real crazy thing.
But I like that you said, the reluctant entrepreneur, because I'm such a firm believer in the fact that, sometimes, I always say God laughs at our plans, because we're like, no, that's not me, and we're very quick to say what we are not, right? When sometimes there are things that we are that we don't realize can shine if that environment, that atmosphere just shifts a little. Then there are things that we didn't even know that were there. So I love that you call it the reluctant entrepreneur.
The reluctant entrepreneur. And the funny thing is, and you talk about how, always there's a thing in Judaism that says that God sends the refuah, which is the healing, before the makkah, which is the plague.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because he sent me this healing of having my own business, because one of my clients was Deloitte and Touche. And when they decided to expand their government practice, they called me and they said, would you come help us build this? So I went to work for them as an employee.
Oh, wow.
Which is where I met my business partner, Molly Gimmel. So, it's so funny how this all kind of fell in. And that was 21 years ago in October or November that we met. Wow. And we started our business September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11.
I was just about to say, oh my gosh, talk about timing, right?
Talk about needing to have a lot of perseverance. We started our business 20 years ago with 9/11 as the backdrop. And
Wow.
over the years, we had the recession, which
Mhm.
took out our biggest client, owing us almost $500,000. We pivoted and then went into government contracting. And then the government started
Mm.
having shutdowns.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
we had the pandemic. So you know, if you want to hear a story about
yeah,
perseverance, I mean, the journey that we've been on for the last 20 years
yeah.
has
So
been
what do
one of
you think, like,
perseverance.
what would you attribute each one of those, you know, I don't want to say well, let's just call them challenges, right? Or
Okay.
things that mountains that were placed in front of you. What do you think? What were some common denominators that every time you guys were faced with something that presented itself to be one of these mountains that kind of came to the forefront for you? Because I think there's something to really dissecting that there are certain things that come forth in you when you realize, like, hey, the rubber just hit the road. Like,
Mhm.
we got some decisions to make here, you know.
Mhm. You know, it's interesting because in the middle of that, in 2014, we started a second business, which subsequently we closed it like 3 years later.
Okay.
So, you know, the one thing about entrepreneurship is it doesn't always work.
That's right.
So,
And we have
you
to be
know,
okay with that.
you
Like,
know,
you guys
it's
weren't
it's
like, oh my gosh, this business, we started it, we closed it, so now we're failures. Like, you kept moving forward.
we did. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because it was an expensive experiment. But I think the bottom line in perseverance is when our client went out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, we were facing we were gonna have to shut down. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was just so much money to have to try to make up. And then on top of it, because of the way the contracts were, we talked to our attorney, he's like, you know, you're still gonna have to do the work. I was like,
Mm.
we didn't get paid. And he's like, it doesn't matter.
Wait a minute. So
So
you
we
still had
have to
to
pay our
honor the
people.
contract, do the work, but yet no revenue was being
No
generated
revenue,
from this.
no revenue. So
Wow.
I think what it came down to, Molly and I had a conversation,
Yeah.
and we basically took closing the business down off the table. Like, we're like, we don't know what we're going to have to do, but
Right.
closing it is just not going to be one
It's
of the
not an
options we're
option.
thinking about. And I will tell you, we rated our 401k to pay our employees. We didn't get
Mm.
paid for 6 months. I mean, it was like really, really, and girl, you know, just based on grit and perseverance,
Yeah.
we turned it around. We decided to pivot from supporting government contractors,
Mm-hmm.
moving into supporting the government agencies directly.
Nice.
And we went from facing failure to starting in, I think it was like 2015, 2014, something like that. We ended up on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the country 4 years straight,
Come on.
and ended
Yes.
up a $10 million a year business.
Yes.
So it literally, our executive advisor and our accountant said, we've never seen anything like it. How did you guys do it? It was like, basically we said, we're not going to let this fail.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
and the fact we didn't want to go back to working for anybody else, because that's a big motivator, big motivator.
Right.
But I
Right.
think sometimes, you know, sometimes when you're facing something that's a
Yeah.
challenge, and I'm like this, I'm an operations person. I look at the cans, and what we did was we're like, we're just going to look at the cans.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah.
What can we control? What
Right.
can we, you know,
That's
and
good. I like the
it's
what can we control. So basically what I hear you saying is we were focused on the solutions. Y'all got
mhm,
real solution focused
mhm.
and stopped focusing on the problem. Like, we know what the problem is, but what's the solution
What's the
that we can
solution?
control?
And it's interesting because a lot of people who are entrepreneurs are what's called solopreneurs. So you don't have somebody like I had another half.
Right.
Who we were able to divide and conquer. So what I would say to people who don't have a business partner is find somebody that you trust, that you can kind of bounce things off, who will not sugarcoat it.
Right. That's key. That's key. Yeah.
But you also don't want them to be like, I don't know. Did you see the movie? I think it's called Inside Out, about the kid with the emotions. And the one who was always, you don't want that person either, but you don't want Joy, who's always like, oh, hey, it's all wonderful. You need somebody who's going to be like, this is what you're looking at. Like if you're in Jurassic Park and there's a Tyrannosaurus running after you, you don't want somebody who'll be like, oh, well, it's a real big lizard that's behind. No, it's a Tyrannosaurus. You need to run. Okay.
Right.
So you need that kind of a person. But you really, solopreneurs need to find somebody. Somebody who can mentor them, somebody who has more experience. I mean, I have a call later on with someone I know really well, and she just hired her first employee. And I said, look, we need to talk. We need to talk about scaling. We need to talk about this. She's like, I will call you this afternoon.
That's awesome.
So you need somebody you can talk to, and somebody who's been through things.
I was just about to say, they have to have the experience and the know-how, have, like you said, have been through some things, or they're not going to be able to share. Like they can't share with you what they don't know, and I know a lot of times we're looking, to tap into people who we hope can share with us because, maybe they're our friend or something, but that friend might not have had those experiences. They might not have that knowledge to be able to give you. It's not that they don't want to, but they don't know how.
They don't have to, and let's just take it back a step. Let's just start at the very basics. That probably the scariest thing anybody's going to ever do is start a business. Start a business that you depend on that income to survive. I'm not talking about a side hustle.
That's right.
So you have to have a good plan in place in order to be successful, because truthfully, and I was part of a panel a couple of years ago, and one of the accountants said, because people say like most companies go out of business the first, year or two in business.
5 years.
5 years, but sometimes they don't even make it to 1 or 2. What's one of the main reasons that companies go out of business?
What's that?
Cash flow. It's not revenue. You have plenty of revenue, but you don't have any cash flow.
That's right. And that has a lot to do with actually planning, which we're going to step into next. But, because you got to plan, you got to be able to project and forecast for future in order to have cash flow, right? So actually, before we step into that though, I want to ask one question, and y'all know I go rogue sometimes, so somebody have to.
Oh, I'll go with you.
And this wasn't even one of my questions, y'all. I can't help myself. But one of the things you mentioned is, and we hear this often, which is finding a good mentor, right? And I love that you just gave a great example of how, you have someone who you are pouring into, who you're like, no, we need to have a call. You're about to make a big step. Let's talk through that. That's amazing, because that is the type of stuff that I believe we all need, right? But one of the questions I hear so often is, how do I find someone, or how do I, establish that mentorship relationship with someone of your caliber? Because I think what a lot of women who are starting out in entrepreneurship are intimidated by is that women who are, already kind of successful or already at a certain level, that they either don't have time for, to mentor them, or they are intimidated by, their lack of knowledge and don't want to, kind of be be outed, so to speak, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes any sense. So what are some pieces of advice that you would give in that regard to, just about the process of actually approaching or finding someone to mentor?
It's really interesting because I've always said that, sometimes you have to hire somebody
Yeah.
in order to get the the training or the skill sets that you need.
Okay.
Um, I've been one of those people that when we've hired people over the years,
Mm-hmm.
I literally am like, do you mind if I sit here? I just want to like peek over your shoulder and see how you do stuff. That's how I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
literally just peering over somebody's shoulder. Like we were
Right.
talking earlier about me fixing these computers. My friend Ellen Rain Harris, who passed on a couple of years ago, I mean, I literally like sat at that woman's feet and learned
Yeah.
how to fix computers.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you hire somebody in, ask them, so how are you doing that? How did you learn how to do that?
Yeah.
That's one way to learn something. So it doesn't always have to be an official mentor.
Right.
If you
Right.
go to an event, like when we did your event, the Planner
Yeah.
Suite, I made time afterward to answer questions because I was
Yes, you
already
did.
there.
Yeah.
So if you're at an event, take time to go up to the speaker and say, do you have time for some questions? I did another event with AARP and I spent 3 hours after the event talking to people. So, sometimes you can have conversations. So it doesn't always have to be an ongoing mentorship.
Right. Right. And I
It
think
could be
that's
somebody,
important to know too, right? It's just how we define mentorship. Because I think in a lot of our minds, it's this like, almost this one-on-one thing that happens like every week. And it's like, no, number
Mhm.
one, I know the women who are mentors to me, they are busy, just like you, they are busy. So I don't even want for them to feel obligated, to have that type of obligation when I know they can't even commit that anyway. But
It's a matter of what you're trying to do, though,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's different to call somebody and say, I wanted to run something by you
right,
versus, can you come into my office and fix this and call me when you're done? Because
right.
that's how people are sometimes perceived, that they want the mentor to fix something as opposed to help them get to the place where they know how to fix it themselves.
That's good. That's good.
And
That's
it's
great.
it's a different dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the one
You have to have some skin in the game. Absolutely.
you do.
Yeah.
And the man I was talking about, the CFO back in that company in 94, we had kept in touch when I had the first business, and then we kind of lost contact. And then we reconnected, and the business is now, probably 15 years old. And we're like, hey, you want to be a executive advisor?
Right.
So
That's
we
good.
paid him to come in. We didn't have a board of directors,
Yeah.
but we took everybody on our corporate staff down to Miami. We did an offsite strategic planning. We paid for his hotel, his travel, his time,
That's good.
but he was offering mentorship. And then because we were doing that, in the meantime, if I had a question, I could pick up the phone and call. So it's a different relationship.
Right.
When you're saying, I value your expertise, I'm willing to pay you for it. Then most people in those positions, that if you have something in the meantime and it's not really a big deal, they don't mind picking up the phone.
Right.
And if they do, they might not be the right person.
Right. Well, then you have that there too. If they aren't willing to try to find some semblance of time for you, then they may not be the right person.
Yeah, but it's a matter of investing in your business.
Yeah,
and sometimes you have to do things like that in order to invest in your business, to get somebody to help you get to the next place.
Yeah,
because
I love
really,
the example you used of sitting at the young lady's feet, so that you could just absorb that knowledge, just being in their space, absorbing that knowledge, and sometimes we got to be willing to, to do that, humble yourself, so
really
you can absorb that knowledge. Yeah. And
it'll help you keep from making mistakes that other people make.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, especially when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
One of the places people end up spending a lot more money than they have to
Yeah.
is on the financial side. And the
Mm,
reason is they don't have an accountant.
that's right.
You
Listen,
know, I talked
you
to,
talking to me right now.
yeah, right. But the thing about it is,
That would
especially if
be
you're
in
if
my
you're an
first 1
LLC,
to 3 years.
yeah, but if you're an LLC,
Yeah.
there may be some tax benefits that you don't know about, but your accountant might. If
Right.
you're now having employees, it might be better to be, look at, do you want to be a C corp? Where do you want to be long term? And your banker. A lot of entrepreneurs don't have bankers.
Yeah.
So what happens is either they get something real big and they don't have the ability to scale up because they don't have the financial resources. Because you literally cannot walk in a bank and be like, I need money. And they're like, I'm sorry, who are you?
And that means what?
Exactly. But if you develop
That's
a
good.
relationship with your banker before you need it,
That's
you
right.
already have it there. Your attorney.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how many people have called me with stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, I know what the answer is, but you really need to run this by your attorney. And they're
Yeah.
like, I don't have an attorney. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. Now that doesn't mean you have an attorney at $500 an hour on retainer.
Right. Exactly.
You don't need that.
Exactly.
We're
It's
not
relationship.
AT&T.
Right. But what I hear you saying in both of those instances is it's the relationship, having the relationship in place so that when you need to utilize it, when you need to call on them, then they're
You
like,
have it.
absolutely right.
And
right.
particularly your attorney, when you're writing contracts,
Mhm.
let me tell you how just the lack of one sentence can change your ability to get paid in a reasonable amount of time.
Phew.
Let me tell you how
Yeah.
if you're using 1099s, not having the right consultant agreement put in
Yeah.
place could create an employee relationship that the Department of Labor wants to know, why haven't you been, why aren't you doing this? And the IRS says, why aren't you paying payroll taxes?
Oh my.
So
Oh my.
these are the reasons why you need to maybe invest some money
Yeah.
and be real short, because it will save you money in the long term.
That's awesome. See, y'all, I told you Diana is dropping jewels, okay? Not even nuggets, jewels, okay? Because these are things that, and I say that not to be funny, but we're shifting. I don't even want to say out of, but we're still shifting through a pandemic. And so many of us are trying to either rebuild or, pivot or shift into what's next. And these are the type of things that, as you're shifting, as you're pivoting, as you're finding your new rhythm, these are the things that are going to set you up for success, that next level of success. So let's step into the planning part, Diana, because I mean, a lot of what you're talking about right now is actually really helpful on the planning front, because you do want to make sure that you kind of have this foundation, if you will, solid in terms of relationships and understanding what you need, But one thing I think can be a challenge is, for some of us, again, while we're still kind of in this shifting, we don't always know what we need because we're not quite sure what is next, right?
Right.
I think that's still a question mark for some, is what is next? I know that I'm shifting. I know that I'm pivoting. I know that there are, things on the horizon. I feel good about this newness or this next that I'm stepping into, but I don't quite know all of what that looks like. So how do we plan for things when we're not really sure all of what we're planning for?
That is a real solid question.
Yeah.
Because even, 20 years into our business, we still have unknowns. I mean, the way that we did business before the pandemic was had the corporate office. We had people on our Indiana office, and everybody else was on customer sites.
Yeah.
And so now we had to learn how to telework, and we had to do, change contracts. and, we have all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So, sometimes planning happens like the moment before it happens.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
true.
can't always plan ahead. Like people say, what's your 5-year plan? I was like, ask me what I'm doing later this afternoon. I'm not at 5 years. Okay. Let me just be real here.
I know that's right.
I mean,
What
let's
I'm
just be
doing
real.
tomorrow.
No, I'm not at tomorrow. I am
Right.
today. I am like
Today,
not even dealing with tomorrow.
That's good. That's good.
But you have to look at things like Molly and I had a meeting on Friday because we, like I was telling you earlier, we had a strategic plan with all of our corporate staff. We flew some people in, somebody else drove in. So there was 9 of us in the office for the first time since March 2020. It was awesome.
That's so
and
awesome.
When she and I were talking Friday, we were talking about, we need to rethink how we're doing things. We need to, go back, take a step back. And we're trying to figure it out. And all of a sudden we're like, wait, we got the brain trust coming in on Monday. Let's put it out to the brain trust.
Right.
So, they helped us come up with some ideas and some, hey, we can implement this stuff.
Good.
It's really hard to plan into the unknown. Now, I'm an operations person. So I have so many plans. They have like subscript with letters, hyphen numbers. I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm a just in case person. Not everybody plans this way. If you are a strategic thinker and you have really good ideas, find somebody that you know and trust who's an operations person who can say, okay, that's a great idea. Here are the things that you have to do in order to implement it.
Yeah.
If you're an operations person and you can't get out of the weeds, find somebody you know and trust, and let's do a brainstorming thing. That's a bigger picture, and then you can go implement it.
Right.
It's a matter, planning sometimes is planning to your strengths.
That's good. I love that.
So in terms of a pandemic, I'm real big on reading articles. That's, if you're looking for me at 10 o'clock at night, I'm on my phone reading Google News, seeing what's going on. What are the industry trends? If you are a person in events, see what they're writing about what's going on in the event industry.
Right.
There's a lot of things that are being done in a digital platform. Like this would have been a conversation you and I would have had a year ago or a year and a half ago in person.
Right.
And had somebody taping it in a studio or whatever.
Right. But
now we're on a digital platform.
Right.
If you are in a restaurant industry, which has been almost decimated, but it's starting to come back.
Yeah.
If you are thinking about opening a restaurant, maybe you don't want something with such a big space.
Right.
Like you want something that you can have some flexibility. Do you want to have, make arrangements for there's more takeout, or do you want to even move into catering? There's a lot of people I've seen in the restaurant industry that have moved from strictly restaurants to doing more catering things.
Catering, yeah, that's good. That's good.
So it really depends, but you kind of have to think on your feet when it comes to planning. Now, one of the things, if you follow me on Instagram, it's Dibble 613. I'm really into my Erin Condren planners. Like I love these.
I've seen that on your feed. I love that.
Here's some of them.
Yeah.
Okay. These are just some of them. So what I have.
See, I love planners too. See,
oh my God. I know we're going to have another conversation about that. This planner here, this blue one, this is my planning planner. Okay. And it's like, you're what? I have a journal in here where I sit and I just write ideas down.
That's good.
Wherever I come to, and they're on separate pages, because then from that idea, I'm like, okay, what's next? What do I have to do to get this to the next phase? What's next? What do I have to do?
Yeah.
So I literally have a planner just for that.
Yeah. I love that.
And that helps.
Yep.
It really helps.
It goes, so the writing it down part to me goes back to the visualization, right? Because some of us, we got, especially people who are quote unquote creatives, right? Like we got so many ideas and thoughts just running around in our head. And sometimes all of that can start getting real chaotic up in there. Like, okay, y'all got to stop. But
somebody needs to take a seat for at least 10 minutes. We're going to be in a timeout here. Okay.
Y'all doing too much. But like you said, if you take it and then write it down in your journal or your planner, then all of a sudden you can it starts to make sense, and you can visualize what you're thinking, almost like you can see it, so that is, I love that. I just started doing that, a year and a half ago, actually right before the pandemic hit. I started journaling, and it mean a great deal.
And you can do things like they have, instead of line journals, they have dot journals where you can actually diagram.
Nice.
Where you can say, I need to go from here to here and here to here. But this is also something really good because you can keep a record of what didn't work.
That's good.
Like, hey, good. I tried this. It didn't work. Hey, I tried this. It worked. Okay, let's do more of that. But sometimes you can't see the pattern until you have it on paper.
That's so good. That's
good. Yeah. And again, with this, reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
The SBA, the Small Business Administration, has SCORE offices where they have volunteers, where they have people who are, a lot of times retired business people, and they're there to help. There's no charge for it. So let's say you have an idea for your business plan, but you don't know how to do a business plan. Right. Somebody at SCORE can help you do that.
Right.
That's right. Read articles. They have lots of articles about people, these success stories.
Yeah.
But just don't be afraid to implement a plan that doesn't work. I mean, if you know it's not going to work ahead of time, don't implement it. There's a couple of people out there, who you are. I have to say that out loud for you. But if you try something, you think it's a good idea and it doesn't work, that is not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
It's just not. I can't tell you how many times I've tried stuff and it's like, well, we're just not going to talk about that here in the future. But what it does is we can look back and say, we tried this. Like, for instance, I'm going to give you a good for instance. We have done our payroll internally pretty much since we started the company. Actually, not pretty much, since we started the company. And people are like, that's not a good use of time. You should outsource it. And we were working with an accountant. We had a new accountant. And they're like, you need to do this. And we're like, okay, because it's going to save time. It's going to do it. I was like, okay, I'm here for the saving time. Well, let's just say, and I'm sorry that I mentioned you by name, ADP, but you work for other people I know really well. You just didn't work for us.
Just not us.
They went in and out of our account. We didn't know where stuff was going. They're like, you haven't paid enough taxes, and then you paid too much taxes, and on and on and on. We couldn't figure out what we were working with at all. Because I literally would go in and I'm like, where'd $80,000 go? Like, hello.
Right. So
the accountant, I was like, how do we keep track of this? He goes, oh, we'll just do a journal entry. I was like, we're a government contractor. I have to have everything that's how we do our rates. And he's like, it'll be fine. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, how long have you been an accountant? Like, seriously, I was a music theater major in undergraduate. I know this stuff. Okay. So I spent a lot of time, and probably the equivalent of $40,000 of my time to fix it. Like me, not the accountant, fixed what the accountant couldn't do.
Oh boy.
And so I was like, this isn't the right accountant.
Yeah.
I found a new accountant. And then after that, I was like, you know what? We have never had a payroll wrong until this. I am not outsourcing it again. And people keep calling me. We can save you time. We can save you money. We can do whatever. And I'm like, nope, because I have control over this.
Right.
So you can make,
like you said before, you're playing to your strengths. You understand that this is one of your strengths. It'd be different if you were like, I hate this, plus I don't do it good, and yet you're still forcing yourself to do it. Right. I'm like, it's your strength. You get it. You know it. You understand it, and you feel affirmed in knowing that it's handled, which that's just peace of mind.
You know what? And if it's wrong, it's on my head.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, but can I just tell you, it hasn't been wrong. So all of that, pat myself on the head. all of that's to say that, yeah, that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
We learned from it. We moved on.
Yeah.
We know that the stuff that we can do, we know what our limitations are, and the stuff that we can't do, I do a better job of vetting who we're bringing in to support us.
That's right.
So that was the lessons learned. It was a big mistake, but there's nothing wrong with making mistakes.
You learn, exactly. And you learn from it and you move forward.
Hopefully you do.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Let's just say, hopefully.
Right. But I think those are the type of stories that I think, women entrepreneurs specifically need to hear more of, because we have this idea of perfectionism when it comes to running our businesses. And I'm like, that doesn't exist. And I've even had to learn that, that doesn't exist. And it does not make you a bad person because you make a mistake. It is the action that needs to be corrected, not you as a person.
Right. And I just want to mention one other thing about planning. When Molly and I started the business, we did not have a plan. Our plan was, she's going to call people she used to work with. I'm going to call my old clients and we'll be like, hey, we're back. And, we're like, and the thing about it is it worked too good because we had said we weren't going to open an office and we weren't going to hire people at least for a year if it ever happened. September, we started. September 24th, we actually started working for the company because we had been working for other companies. By May, we had an office and we had 3 people.
Look at God.
Because our non-plan works so well.
Yeah, our non-plan.
So I'm here to tell you that sometimes you can overplan to the point that where you can't make a decision because you have so much stuff going on.
You stay stuck.
Sometimes you have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
And that's not to say we haven't had a plan since. Yeah. But there's some days that our gut just says, we need to go in this direction. And we're like, we'll figure it out on the way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like building the plane on the way down,
well, no, you don't want to do that. That's bad. Hello. But there's sometimes that you can't.
Combination,
But back to the pandemic, there's some people that right now an opportunity is going to come up.
Yeah.
And you can't sit there and say, well, that's a great opportunity, but I need to have a plan. No, sometimes you just have to trust your gut and go.
Right.
That's right. And then if you're thinking that you want to have employees, you want to have an office space, those are things you can plan for. And those are the things that you can build a foundation and have stuff put in place. So when you're ready to get there, or you're ready to start getting there, you have a foundation to build on. Because one of the things, and I've taught classes on business for years, is you've got to have a strong foundation to grow. It's like trying to build a house, but you build the roof first.
That's right.
No, you need a concrete foundation.
Yes.
Your foundation of a business, if you're going to grow, is your banker, your accountant, and your attorney. That's your foundation.
That's good.
And then if you get all of that stuff, you have your accounting in place, you have your contracts in place, and you have somebody at a bank that says, yeah, if you get this contract, I can finance it for you. Then you can go, you can take things that just walk in the door.
Right.
But even in that vein, be really careful, understand who you are as a business, what you do. You can't be everything to everybody. Right. So just because business walks in the door, it doesn't mean that you have to take it.
Ooh,
and I'll give you a great example.
She's preaching now. She's preaching.
Oh, I am preaching. Hold on a second. I might have to get the choir in here. Hold on. You guys ready? I'll call you in a minute. But the thing is, you can say no to business and still grow.
That's right.
But it's just like your doctor. Let's say you go to a doctor and you need, some brain surgery or something, right? And while you're there, he starts talking about other stuff that's not his specialty. You're like, I came to you for this.
Right.
Oh, well, I can do that other stuff too. You'd be like, I need to bounce at this point. It's the same thing when you're a business.
Yeah.
I can do that. If somebody calls you because your expertise is in X and they need X and Y,
Yeah.
what you need to say is, I don't do that, but I know a company that does that I can team up with.
That's
This is
right.
why you need to build your network of
That's
people who
right.
do things similar or
Yeah.
complementary to what you do. So then those things that you didn't plan for, you can say, hey, guess what? We're going after this opportunity.
That's right.
That's where the not planning, but the planning part is building those relationships. So all that is to say is, make sure that you're doing the work in the things that you have your expertise in, and the things that you don't. Sometimes you will build a better relationship by saying, I don't really do that, but I can refer you to somebody.
That's right.
Because if you do it and you do a bad job, that will follow you everywhere you go.
That's right. And you've done more damage than good,
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So many nuggets. I hope y'all are writing this down. And if you're not, that's fine.
If you're not, you can watch it again. Rewind.
Because I will. I will.
Well, you get to call me if you have special questions. You get to call me.
I'm gonna listen to it and then call you.
I'm okay with that.
So let's move into productivity, because that, I believe, is also connected to what we've been talking about as far as the planning, productivity. So now, again, we're moving into these spaces, and I believe what you just said, which is, there are going to be opportunities that are going to start, coming forth. And so you may find yourself very quickly stepping into, going from, okay, I don't have nothing going on, because of the pandemic, to now I'm in overwhelm because everybody and their mama are like, yeah, I need that, So productivity, I feel, is going to be key to managing it all. And I took a moment just to look up, because I want to be very clear, y'all, because being productive and being busy are not the same thing. So I took the time to look it up because I want to make sure we get this thing down right. So productive is defined as yielding favorable or useful results. Constructive. That's the definition of productive. So Diane, I want to ask you, just in your experience, how do you distinguish between making sure that you are productive versus busy?
You were asking me on a day that I'm busy. I don't know if I've been productive, but I have been definitely busy.
She's like, listen, I'm busy. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting, because let me go back again to the planners.
Yeah.
This is why I have so many different planners, because they serve different purposes.
Right.
So the one thing that you'll find, especially if you're in an industry that's task-based, where you have a lot of things that have to be done, or you have a project that has like different components to it. Writing things down is one of the best ways to start being productive, because you have a visual cue of what you need to do. Yeah. Now, I'm a type of person, in order to help my productivity, I actually color code my task.
You mean I'm not the only one who does that?
Oh, no, honey. I told you we were connected. I mean, seriously.
I'm so glad I'm not alone.
No, you're not alone. You're not. There's a whole underground group of us that does this. But I do. So like everything I have to do that's finance is green, because why? Money's green.
Right.
HR stuff is blue because people. And corporate is black because the stuff I deal with the corporate is black and white. And then anything that I have personal is pink because it's my favorite color.
Yes, I love that.
So when I have one planner that's set up and it's hourly. So I'm a visual person. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And even though I have Google Calendar and it's always sending me, hey, did you forget to do this? And I have Alexa. I can't say it loud because she'll turn on in the background and she's like, how can I help you?
Right.
See, there she goes. Alexa, stop.
What do you want?
I mean, there she goes. I'm just telling you. So I will pull out like key meetings and stuff and put it in my hourly planner. And then I will have like, if there's some big highlight, something I absolutely cannot forget to do. I put it in that planner. Then I use my Erin Condren Petite planners, and no, I don't get any money from them. I'm not, this is not a commercial. I use my Petite planner and I use it as checklists. So I put everything in sections. And then the really, really important stuff, I have matching highlighters that match my pens, and I can highlight it. And then I can check stuff off as I go.
Yeah,
now, if I know it's going to be a particularly busy week, what I will do is I'll take my Erin Condren vertical weekly planner and I'll have stuff down on each day to give me an idea. So I'll put in like the big due date, and then I can fill in other things where I think, and then I'll transfer it into my Petite planner. Now, there's somebody out there right now watching this going, I mean, it's now 5 o'clock. Like, when do you get anything done? So a lot of times I'll do this on Sunday when I'm watching Netflix or, TV or whatever.
Yeah.
And some days I don't use all of them. It just depends on my day.
Yeah.
But what I have found is when you write stuff down, and also for anybody who's watching this, who goes, well, I have a really good memory. Trust me, I've always been a good multitasker and stuff. And the older you get and the more stuff you have going on, the more likely you will forget, because there's really only so much stuff your brain can handle at one time.
Especially when you have kids and they take half of your brain.
Oh, they got more than half. They got more than half. I mean, they're just, Rugrats they're wonderful.
It's real.
I mean, really, really, truly.
Yeah.
But so let me say this, because I actually did another podcast with somebody where we were talking about productivity, and me, who's an expert in productivity, still had issues where I was busy, but not productive. So she and I figured out that what I wasn't doing was putting enough space in my day for emergencies, because my job is a lot of mitigating.
Yeah.
So if I filled my whole day with tasks that need to be checked off, if I don't have space for these, oh my goodness moments.
That's right.
That's what was stressing me out. So once I started doing that, things got better. And then I also was able to do things like eat lunch. Go figure with that, right?
Who does that? Where to do that?
You think I would weigh like 9 pounds, after not eating for 20 years, but that's okay. Well, that's a whole nother conversation. But the bottom line is I have noticed that when I start getting overwhelmed, like the last 2 weeks have been, because we have everybody going back to government sites and we're trying to manage all this stuff in the middle of still ongoing pandemic. What has happened is I don't have enough space in my day to accomplish what I need to accomplish and deal with these emergencies. So on days like this, what I recommend for people is anything that can get moved forward a day or two, move it, get it off your brain, and don't worry about it. Look at what absolutely has to get done, and still have room for the emergencies. Because what happens if you're one of those people, especially if you're task driven and you don't see those check marks, then you get to the end of the day and you're like, I'm busy, but I'm not productive. And that's actually not the case.
Right.
Is that you've been productive on the emergencies.
Right.
And you just didn't have time for the other stuff, but that didn't mean you weren't productive.
Right.
But we kind of have to reframe. Now, if you're sitting around with a whole bunch of stuff to do and you've got, Google Chromecast playing Aquaman in the background, and that's why you didn't get anything done, that's another conversation. Okay. That's another conversation, because you're just distracted and maybe need to take a couple days off.
I was about to say, you need time.
You need some time, but the thing is, I like really hard on ourselves and say, I didn't get anything done. But then you go back and you look at your checklist, you're like, oh my goodness, I need a raise.
Yeah, that visual component is I believe so powerful, because, a lot of productivity, like you're saying, is also mental work, of what we are seeing. And then based on what we're seeing, what are we telling ourselves,
Exactly.
And so we can, like you said, we can easily feel defeated if we are like, oh my gosh, I didn't get, hardly any of that stuff done, but then going back and seeing, well, actually I checked off, 3 things. So that is something done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
let me
great.
give a little insight again to the solopreneurs that are out there,
Yeah.
because I started my entrepreneur career as a solopreneur. And it's different now because we have 80 people.
Right.
So I can always say, hey,
Because
can you do something for me? It's a little bit different.
Who knows?
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's not just me. I mean, there's a lot of us working real hard over at this company. But let me just say this as a solopreneur, because, I used to joke about it when I'd speak about it, but it's really serious, because I would get up at 6:00 in the morning and you check email. And back then it was AOL with the dial up. You've got mail. Oh my God. And so I would get email from people, and I had a fax machine at home, okay, where people were sending me like faxes of their edits and stuff, and I was putting it in. So then I'd work all day. Sometimes I'd have to go to a client site and I'd be out there all day. A lot of times, because we were doing proposals, I wouldn't get stuff until like 5, 6, 7:00 in the evening. So then I'm working, and at 9:00, then it was like, okay, what do I need to do? Oh, I need to do invoicing. So I'd be doing invoicing between like 9 p.m. and midnight. And then at 1 a.m., it's like, oh, I need to email that potential client back because this thing's ending in 4 weeks. So I need to, and it literally would be like I was getting 3 hours of sleep at night.
Wow.
So solopreneurs, let me talk to you for a minute.
It's hard. And then that's how you get burnt out too.
Yeah. And that it also leads to health issues. You can get things like adrenal failure, high blood pressure, diabetes, insulin resistance, all sorts of other stuff, which we can talk about in a whole nother podcast.
That'll be part 2.
Yeah. But what I recommend, and I know it can be a little bit expensive, but if you set aside some time to get like a virtual assistant, somebody who could do something, even if it's sending your emails out.
That's right.
What can you offload to somebody? Because what it will do is it will free up time for you to grow your business.
That's right. That's right.
Because you are the one who's probably doing the work.
Yeah.
So you are the one the customer wants to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if there's busy work, if you are working on a big proposal, hire somebody who knows how to edit.
Yeah.
Build it into your rates.
That's good.
But you really need to have time to focus on your business, and it can't be between midnight and 1 a.m.
No.
So when you're doing your planning, those are things to think about. And then since we're back to planning, let's talk about, again, talking to your accountant, because your rates that you charge somebody, because these are people who are doing services as opposed to products. The rates that you charge somebody is not just how much salary you're going to make. It needs to take into consideration the taxes that you're going to pay. Is there any other overhead? Is there anything else like your health insurance, and on and on and on, because you want to make sure that the rates you're charging will cover all of those costs. That's where people run into problems and why they go out of business very quickly, because they're thinking, oh, I want to make $100,000 a year, so I'll charge $50 an hour, when actually their expenses may put them at $75 an hour.
Right.
And that's for break even. Okay.
Yeah, that's good planning.
So those are the things that you need to get some help on. And the other piece, there's 2 other pieces of things talking about planning. When you're looking at money to grow your business, please don't secure it with your house. Not with the way a lot of people will go and they'll get a line of credit on their house and they'll use that to grow their business. Your business fails, you're going to lose your house.
Oh my.
That's why you need to talk to your banker. Okay. I'm just saying.
Please don't do that, y'all.
I'm just saying. And the other thing is, the other thing I don't recommend is taking your home office off your taxes, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's an expense or whatever. From what I understand, when you sell your house, you need to figure out how much you deducted, and then you have to pay taxes on that. So the things like this that you don't think about as a solopreneur, these are the things when you're planning, but really truly when you're thinking about your rates, talk to somebody who knows how to build a rate that will at least give you, even if it's just a little bit of profit, because you don't want to be underwater, because, you know, we are in business to make a profit. We are not nonprofits, you know? So at the very least, when you're working on something, make sure you're breaking even. Because otherwise you will end up underwater and you can't make that up.
So. No, that's so good. That's so good. And you know, a lot of, I just want to connect back to, because, you know, my audience, y'all know I tie a lot of stuff back to self-work. A lot of this that Diana is pointing out is also getting rid of that scarcity mindset, because it prevents a lot of us from hiring that VA, or, you know, talking with that financial, you know, advisor, or that accountant, or talking to that legal, legal resource, because we're thinking lack, like all we see is money, and we're like, I'm not even making money, you know, yet. So I think we gotta also bring the right mindset into it as well, that you know, you're gonna have enough because you're investing, you know, into your business and into you as well. So,
and you'll get it back. I mean, let me tell you, Molly and I started this business. We had, I think I had $2,000 in the bank in credit cards. And we literally started the business and were profitable from day one.
That's awesome.
Because she's a finance or a pricing expert. So we knew how to price everything to cover everything. So we were profitable from the beginning, except those years where 2008 and 9 were rough. Oh my Lord.
But y'all here.
But we're here. But I have always said, and I see people who are like, well, you know what? I will just take this and I'll make it up later. One, you're always going to lose money on that, whatever you're doing. You know, and two, you're teaching your clients that you're not worth the money that you're worth. Like when somebody says, well, let me just try you out. I'm like, this ain't Zappos. You can try stuff and send it back. No. And it was funny because we used to, when we were supporting government contractors, they're like, well, why don't you guys do stuff on commission if you're so good? I'm like, because we are that good. We don't know how good you are.
Come on now. See?
I mean, really, truly, because I'm like, we're doing this work. I have no guarantee that you're going to implement it the way that we have advised. And there were people who didn't, and then they lost, and they're looking at us side eye. And we're like, we told you to do X, you did Y. That's on you.
Right.
But you have to understand what your worth is and make sure you have a fair price for that worth. You know, you shouldn't be like, you know, buying a boat on each individual client, you know.
Right.
And if they say that they want a quantity discount, you know, so tell them, okay, well, this is what it is. When we get to that quantity, then I'll give you a discount.
Right. When we get there,
you know, right? or just do it for me. It'll build, it'll give you some past performance. It's like, I get past performance and get paid. Like, don't give away your worth
that's
for free.
That's right.
And the people who won't pay for it, that's not your customer. That's not your client.
That's right. Look, well, listen, and we can drop the mic on that one. Okay. This was so good. I told y'all I was going to go by fast. I told you guys. So Diana, you know, this was just so great. I mean, gosh, I can't even give a full recap because there's so many nuggets that I'm just like, y'all just have to go back and re-listen. I'm sorry. But this was great. And I really do hope that you guys got a lot from it. I mean, wow, it's really what we need for a time such as this, you know, because right now, perseverance, you know, we all have been through rough patches over this last 16, you know, or so months, but it's pushing through it, and everybody's push through looks different. So I'm not going to tell you how to push through it, but as long as you know, one foot in front of the other, that's how we move forward, right?
Don't give up.
That's right. And then the planning, I think planning is so critical now more than ever, to just have a plan, right? Just have a plan. You heard Diana say, like, it doesn't mean you got every little stick and stone planned out, but just having that vision is sometimes enough. And then the productivity, you have to be able to, I know for, and I love again that you use the example of, writing things down, going back to it, looking at it, checking it off, because I truly believe that, again, when we see things, there's something about, it's biblical. Write it down, make it plain, something about when we see things, it just carries it to another level. So this was awesome. I can't even thank you enough. I know my cup runneth over, so I don't know what y'all doing. But okay, before we close, before we close out, we have to do our rapid fire. So that's 5 questions.
Uh-oh.
Yes, y'all know how we do. 5 questions that I do not give my guests beforehand. So they just have to give answers off the top of their head. First thing that comes to your mind, okay? So
Okay.
Here we go. Number 1, what do you like to do for fun?
Be outdoors.
Okay, I love that. I've found an appreciation for being outdoors recently too. Number 2, what's one stereotype about moms or women that drives you bananas?
That we need to be explained to.
Come on. She said explained. She left that E out for a reason. Okay. I love it. Number 3, who is your BFF in your head?
Molly Gamble, my business partner.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You do need to have a relationship with your business partner for sure. Number 4, what do you dream of becoming?
The best version of me.
Yes, beautiful. And lastly, favorite song and why?
Well, yesterday it was Y'all Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. I don't think I need to explain why.
Right. You just need to know.
I mean, it's so funny. I don't know music. I literally don't know music. So I'll hear something and people are like, you don't know those words, shut up. So I don't know the name of songs. I don't know whatever. I've never known. Molly can name every song ever created. My boyfriend can do the same, my brother. And I'm like, is this Elvis? They're like, no, this is not Elvis. This is not Elvis. So since the only one that I can think of is Y'all Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind, that's gonna be.
We'll go with that. I was gonna say
I'm gonna go with that.
It's most relevant, most recently.
I mean, just dang, y'all, dang.
Oh, so good. You did good. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much, Diana. Before we close out, please share with the audience where they can find you. How can they stay connected with you? Because if you guys listen to the nuggets she dropped, you're definitely going to want to stay connected with Diana. She's a wealth of knowledge, such a great resource, and always willing to lend a hand as well.
So I have my Instagram and professional page on Facebook. They're all Dibble, DIDIBBLE 613. My personal website is dibble.com. And then I have a YouTube channel. If you look up Diana Dibble, a lot of people will come up. I did not know I had such a popular name, but look for this face. And that's my YouTube channel because I'm in the process of updating it, and we'll be talking more about operations topics and planning and productivity, health and wellness, self-care, and all sorts of other stuff. You can send me an email on I have a contact form on my website. And for anybody who's watching, I have come up with a special.
Oh,
so normally I charge $300 an hour. I usually do like an hour consult for people. It's usually $300. And for anybody who's watching this, I will do it for $100.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I will, listen to the things that you have going on. if you're trying to grow, if you're a small business or whatever it is, and I will walk you through some stuff.
Yes. And I think it's so, let me just say this. I think it's so important, guys, that, what do we say? We check for receipts. So I think it's so important that we understand who has their receipts, especially out here in this climate right now where everyone is online. Everyone looks like a professional. Everyone looks like an expert. Well, let me not say professional, an expert. Okay. I think it's important to know who is really who they say they are. And I'm honored and confident in saying that Diana knows her stuff, so if you are looking for help, with your business as you step into your next, she would definitely be someone to call. Okay. So thank
Thank
you
you for that.
so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Diana. This was absolutely amazing, wonderful, everything that we needed today on this Thursday. Okay.
I'm like,
So,
what day of the week is it?
I know.
I'll have to ask who what day of the week it is, because that's like our morning routine. I get up and she's like, and today is X, because she knows I'm going to ask.
Gotta keep good girlfriends around. See?
I mean, just wow.
Well, thank you guys for sharing this time and space with us. As always, you know what I say, you can have it all as long as you're willing to have it on your terms and your time. Until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. Be safe, be blessed, and enjoy the rest of your week. And enjoy it. Make sure you put the joy in it. All right, guys, take care.